everyone, it's Kara here from Boho and I am back with a brand new video for you today. This week's video is all about my new ink journal. And an ink journal is something that I've always wanted to do ever since I started getting into fountain pens and all of the different inks and everything out there. I wanted to start keeping a journal to document kind of the different properties, what I like and don't like about each different ink that I try. So this was my attempt at putting that all into one notebook. And I'm using a Rhodia web notebook. Rhodia has notoriously great paper for fountain pens. So I decided to use this Rhodia notebook for my ink journal so that I would minimize the bleed through on the pages when I'm testing out different inks. So we're just going to open her up and dive right in so I can show you what I've done inside. All right, let's see. So on the very first page here, I have my cover page, which I just did some little hand lettering ink journal, and then open it right up and it goes straight to the index. So I decided to use an indexing system where I can kind of do a little swab of the color was my initial plan. Then I decided just to use whatever pen I have the ink in and do some hash marks. And then I have the page number that it's located on, and then I have the ink and the pen that I'm using with the ink in it. So I have enough of these to do 96 different inks. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but we'll see. And then after that, we just jump straight in. So in deciding what I was going to track and keep track of for each type of ink, I decided to use Brian Goulet's format for ink reviews. You can find those all over the Goulet blog, but he has a great format for ink reviews that I really liked, so I decided to stick with that. So up at the top, I have the name of the ink, I have the pen that I used, and then I have a little swab that I did with a Q-tip, and then we go straight into all the details. So on the left hand side here, I have the smear test, and this is just to test the dry time of the ink. So you write 5, 10, 20, and 30 seconds, and then you do 5 little hash marks or whatever you want to do there and start counting out 5 seconds. At the end of 5 seconds, you swipe your finger across. Do the same for each row down until you can kind of determine what your dry time is for that particular ink. For the drip test, this is basically testing how water resistant or not your ink is. So you just do a little hash grid and then let that dry for a little bit and then drop some water droplets onto your grid and see how your ink reacts. Swabs is a way to kind of test the shading and the saturation of your ink. So the idea here is that you take your cotton swab dipped in your ink and you swab it once all the way from 1 all the way over to 3. And then you let that dry for a minute and then you do it again, except you start at 2 all the way over to 3 and then again you swab it for a third time. So that lets you kind of see the degree of color variation that you'll be able to get from your ink and how saturated it is. And then this is where you break all that down. So you've got your dry time. This one happened to be somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds. So I put 10 to 15 seconds. Water resistance, this one was very low. It didn't really hold up well to the water. Shading is something that you'll see from time to time in different fountain pen inks, where as you're writing, you'll see a variation in the color. This one does not happen to have a lot of variation, so I put it that it's a very low shading ink. Flow is how smooth or well it flows through your pen. Ease of cleaning is something that I'll add later on when I try to clean the ink out of whatever pen it is in. So I'll make a note there once I clean it, how easy or difficult was it to clean out of the pen. And then saturation, and this one is a very highly saturated ink, meaning this is the darkest it's going to go. It's going to go really dark, but when you write with it, it writes almost, if not at, that darkest shade. So I really like how deep and saturated this ink is. And then on the right hand side of the page, I just have room for notes, scribbles, any thoughts and ideas I have about the particular ink. If I have time, I might do a little doodle or a sketch or something like that. And then I also have the date up on the upper right hand corner, the date that I reviewed said particular ink. So that's my format, and I'm just going to flip through pretty quickly. I only have 4 of these in here so far. This one I have Private Reserve Spearmint, which right now is one of my favorite colors. I have this one in my Visconti Van Gogh, and I love how beautifully it matches the pen itself. I'm kind of funny like that. I like my ink colors to match the pen that they're in for the most part. So I love that this one matches so pretty. Again, I have some notes on the right hand side here, little scribbles. This one is Diamine Ancient Copper, which I have in my Montegrappa Mule, which is a copper pen, so I thought that was fitting as well. Love this pen and how smooth it writes. And then after that I have my Private Reserve Blue Suede, which is one of my new favorite teals. It has some really good shading, so it goes from light to dark as you're writing, and it's just beautiful. So that's all the inks that I have in here so far, but I'm really looking forward to filling this up. One other little thing I decided to do was to section off the back part of this notebook and have a list of my currently inked pens. So I have the last few pages set aside for this, and I just decided to do a little index of sorts. So I have my date, and then I have my pen and ink, and then this little X over here on the right, that I'll put a little check mark or an X along this column once that pen has been cleaned out and re-inked with something else. So these are all of the fountain pens that I currently have inked up, and then that transfers over to the back as well. So this is just going to be a running list. Once I put an X through, meaning that it's been cleaned out, then I'll re-ink it. I might keep the same ink, or I might put a new ink in it. Either way, I'm going to rewrite it at the end of the list. So anything without an X will be my currently inked fountain pens. All right, so that is it for today. Just a little mini video for you today. I thought it was something cool to keep an ink journal and kind of have a record of all the different inks and fountain pens that I try out. So I hope that you found this useful. I have been getting tons and tons of requests to do more fountain pen style videos. So at some point in the near future, don't quote me too hard on this, but some point in the near future, I'm going to be doing kind of an overview of the different fountain pens that I have and some of my favorites and some little mini super beginner fountain pen tips for everyone. So if you have any questions, comments, as always, drop those in the comments section below. I'd love to join in the conversation down there, and I will look forward to seeing you all very soon. Bye!